Hello. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Greatest Blueprint. I am Dr. Kathleen Walls.
And I am Deana Davis, a therapist and self love coach.
hmm And we are excited to have you join us this evening. All right. So, how was your day today, madam?
It was full from start to
hmm
finish. So, yes,
Really?
yes. We toured some private schools today for both of
Oh.
my children. They
hmm
loved it, as I did
hmm
as well. So, yeah. And then we got lunch and just like some running around. But yeah, it was a good day.
Fun. For
Yes.
people who are joining us, please be sure to put where you are joining us from so
Mhm.
we can keep our comments. For whatever reason, I'm not able to do the pop out chat.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes I can get it to pop out and sometimes I can't. I have no idea. But
Oh, man.
oh well.
Well, how was your
Um,
day?
how was my day? It was just like a lot of different pieces. So I
Mhm.
had some clients, then I had some running around to do. I need to do some work tomorrow that I needed to prep for today. So it was just like a hodgepodge of
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then it was just like, okay, remembering you got the greatest blueprint tonight. So make
Mhm.
sure you're on for that. And then when I get off, then I'll go finish taking care of some business for tomorrow.
Got it.
So, yes. So I got a couple more hours to my day.
Okay.
Okay. So, all right, let's see. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. Well, first, hopefully, people had a chance to check you out yesterday as you
Mhm.
were interviewed about your books. I'll act like it wasn't me. What was that like?
Well, it was a really good experience. I've been telling everyone, like, I've never been interviewed for my book. I always just talked about it in
Mm-hmm.
different settings, but to actually be interviewed for it was a different experience, but it was really good
Mm-hmm.
because I got to dive deep and get into like the nooks and cranny of the book, why I created it, and just give people a different perspective of the book, kind of like a refresher.
Yes.
So it was
Yeah.
good. Hmm.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad. And may that be the first of many, if that's what you want. I don't want to wish
Well,
anything
I'm
on you if that's not
sure
what you want.
what's already wished upon me.
Mm-hmm.
So once you say it, it's
Yes.
like done
Yes,
most
getting you
times.
prepped. Yes,
Yes. It's
exactly.
always, yeah, you always prep me for what's to come. So, yeah. Mhm.
That's it. That's it. All right, y'all. So, as always, what do we tell them to do, Gina?
Please have your notebook and your pen so that you can
Mm-hmm.
grab all of these gems, jot them
Mm-hmm.
down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
And
go.
reflect on it later.
Yes, I thought you would start dropping bars. Get your pens because we drop these gems. And
No, that's you. That's
okay.
you. Making songs. I just shake
You,
my head and roll my eyes. You're
you
the
get it.
jingle lady.
You get it for. Oh, I like that. Call me Jingle Jingle instead of. I
Okay,
like that. I
jingles,
might be able to
jingle.
do something with that. Hmm.
I'm sure.
All right. All right, y'all. So tonight we are talking about, is ignorance really bliss? You
Mhm.
know, the infamous line, ignorance is bliss. But is it really? I mean, come on. What do you think? Just thoughts off the top of your head, just even around that concept of ignorance is bliss.
Mhm. I think for children,
Do
ignorance is
tell.
bliss. Yeah, because
Mm-hmm.
children, they don't need to know like the details of trauma. Like, if they never experienced it, they don't
Mm-hmm.
have to live vicarious through you.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I think for them, just protecting that sense of innocence,
Mm-hmm.
it could be that line applies to
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
then you get into the space of like exposure, like,
Mm-hmm.
early exposure to things that
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't be pre-wired to unless they were exposed to.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's my
So
first thought. As I was getting ready, I was like, I see kids.
Well, I think that's great because I hadn't thought about it from a child's perspective. I had really only been thinking about it from an adult perspective
Right,
and how a lot of times people don't want to know because they lean on that statement of
right.
ignorance is bliss. But as a therapist, that as
Mhm,
a 20 plus year clinician,
mhm.
I don't know if ignorance is bliss, but when you put it in the framework of children, yes, it is.
Mhm. Mhm.
So then at what point do we cross over from child protection of not
Mhm.
telling them
Mhm.
into being informed so that one can make a decision?
First thought is adolescence, like like preteen or adolescence, so where they
Mhm.
are becoming more aware of themselves and more independent and things of that nature, where they know what they're doing and
Mhm.
what the impact that they cause. I think
Mhm.
that is a space where it's just like, okay, now you know better. You've
Mhm.
been, prepped and prepared, and
Mhm.
lessons
Mhm.
have been taught, and your parents have instilled great values in you. So it's
Mhm.
like, okay,
Mhm.
what to do.
Yeah.
So I think it's
Yeah.
like that preteen, adolescence, age. And I mean,
Mhm.
not to say that some children that are younger than preteen are not aware, but it's still like,
Mhm.
okay, it's that crossover. So,
Yeah, yeah. And to your earlier point too, I think it definitely depends on what it is that we're talking about, right?
right.
So you hear a lot of times people say, well, I didn't know I was poor. I knew that we had
Yes.
food, or I knew that sometimes we ate the same thing every day, right? But I didn't know. So there was a level of ignorance there,
Yeah.
right? Ignorance in the sense of not knowing, obviously, which is very important because there are stressors that children do not need to be aware of
Right.
because it
And
is
that's what
not,
I'm referring to.
yeah,
Hmm.
definitely, right? It is not their responsibility to fix
Hmm.
it. Now,
Right.
when we fast forward to, let's say, like 15,
Hmm.
16, and this idea of ignorance. And the reason why I picked that age is because a lot of times when it comes to dating and relationships,
Hmm. Hmm.
parents will say you can start dating when you get to high school, or you can start dating when you get to be 16. So now at this point, there that creates an increased level of insight and awareness that needs to be had if you're going to start navigating the emotional terrain of a
Hmm.
relationship. What do you think?
No, yeah, 100%. I agree.
Hmm.
That's where the awareness comes in. How do you treat your partner, male, female, same sex? Like, what do you want?
Hmm.
Not to be taken advantage of, or physical abuse or sexual, like
Hmm.
so. This is
Hmm.
where like you do need to be aware, and ignorance is not bliss, because this is
Hmm.
what sex education is for.
Hmm.
Your aunties and your uncles, and people that are instilling
Godparents,
into
all of
you.
them.
Yes.
That's right.
Hmm.
That support
Yes.
system.
So yeah,
Yeah.
certain things
And,
you just can't say that you don't know, like how to treat someone. That's just basic human interaction. So like
and
things like that.
hmm. Hmm. Very good point. And I know as some parents are listening and they're starting to think because here, such as yourself, you have
Yeah.
a teenager and a budding teenager.
Oh, she thinks
The-
she's a teenager.
I know she does.
Mm. Yes. Pray for
And
me.
yes, and that time period from 14 to 18 goes by so quickly,
Mhm.
right? And then next thing you know, if they're going off to college, if they're going off to trade school, if they're going to the service, if they're moving out, there's an increased level of independence that one needs to know.
Mhm.
And so the ignorance piece doesn't remain blissful, it actually starts to breed frustration.
Mhm. It
What would
becomes real life. It went, as they say, it's just got real. Like
mm-hmm,
that's it. referring to
Mm-hmm.
that scenario.
Yeah. Right. So life got more expansive. And so I tend not to say real life because when they're going in school and they're dealing with their friendship drama, and we've seen it and helped them through it. That's real.
Yeah, it's real
That's
life.
ain't none of that
Hmm.
fake. And it prepares them for life outside of school.
Right.
So, right. So now, all right. So ignorance, and the other thing that comes to mind, my mother used to watch Cheaters. Do you remember that show?
Yes. Jesus, what channel did that come on? 57 or something?
Something like that.
17?
Yes, something.
Late at night on a Saturday night?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So she used to watch Cheaters, and then they started having marathons of this stuff.
Yes.
Right? And so a
I can
lot
see
of
her
times,
now.
look, she'd be sitting up there with just a giggling up a storm, watching this stuff and shaking her head and like, I can't believe this. Right? But to a point, a lot of times you had people who were ignorant to the fact that their spouse, their mate, their partner, their person rather, because they weren't their partner or not if they were
Right.
running around doing this stuff,
Hmm.
were
To that
unfaithful.
degree. Because if you got on the cheaters, oh baby, you was cheating.
Hello.
They
Exactly.
wasn't taking you if it was
It,
a speculation. No,
right,
they had
right,
concrete evidence. Okay.
right. And here's the thing, by the time you go through all of that, don't you already know?
Yes, if you have to go through all of that, yes.
Yes, yes. So it's like, all right. So again, right, the fact, if it wasn't confirmed, would you be blissful?
Mm,
Right? The inner turmoil, the conflict, the questioning, the lack of trust, all of that is, to me, it's not blissful. When I think of blissful, I think not a care in the world, like you said, from a
mhm,
childlike standpoint, right?
mhm,
But now we get older, there's information that we seek. Welcome everybody who's joining us. Please be sure to put your comments in the chat if you have any questions. You can let us know where you're from. You can go ahead and put that in there. But yeah, so now, right, you get the information.
mhm.
One of the ways in which I feel as though people try to stay in this ignorance is using the infamous phrase, I don't know.
Oh Lord, you're the phrase you cannot. You. I'm not gonna say you can't stand. You
Mhm.
dislike
Yes, I dislike it. Why do I dislike it so?
because you feel as though people do know. You just choose
Mhm.
not to do the work to know or understand
That's right.
whatever the scenario is. Hmm.
That's right. A lot of times, right, we already do know. There are occasions when
Yeah.
you honestly don't have the answer
Hmm.
yet,
Hmm.
and you're waiting for that answer.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of times when you do know the answer and it has become a habit to
Hmm.
say, I don't know. It's become what I refer to as lazy brained
Hmm.
because you're
Easy.
not even right. It's easy to say, I don't know, and not give it any thought,
Hmm.
not tap into any feelings that are associated, not increase your self awareness.
Hmm.
And then you end up remaining in a cycle, and you then will say, I don't know why this keeps happening to
How
me.
do we get here?
Right, right.
I don't know how I keep getting here. I don't know how I keep repeating with the same type of man,
Hmm.
same traits in a different man.
Exactly. Over and over again. It's like,
Hmm.
have you taken time to think about it? No. Okay,
Hmm.
well that's part of the issue right there, right?
Hmm.
So now you tell me, prior to me berating people with, you're not allowed to say I don't know.
Literally breathing.
Yes.
People
How
are
did you respond?
scared. They're like biting at the bit, like, I don't want to say, I don't know. I'm like, girl, that's a shame.
But how fast do they go from I don't know to I know?
not fast all the time. Sometimes it
But
takes them a minute because when you come, you like you do know, and it's
that,
like, wait, I don't know. That made me so scared. Poor thing.
but
And I
they
just be
turn
sitting
right
there shaking
around.
my head.
But they turn around and they go, well, actually, I do know is this. Yeah, you do know. Stop
Mm-hmm.
saying that you don't know. Now, you may not want to do anything about what you know.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's very different
I
than
think a lot of
saying I
times,
don't
like
know.
people are not used to that.
Confrontation.
Not even a confrontation, because people are used to confrontation. Like
Hmm.
maybe not in a positive way, but they're used to
Hmm.
confrontation. But challenging their thought process.
Hmm.
So it takes sometimes. It's like it's jolting. Like, what am I supposed to say? Because they're not used to it. So it's going to take them time to get into that space of
Hmm.
saying, okay, I do know I really don't want to work prior
Hmm.
to, you know what I mean? Like, even if
Hmm.
they know they're going to see you, like, well, I know Dr. Wells, she's going to say, I can't go to her and say, I don't know. So let me do the work. So
That's right.
if she does ask me, then I can say, okay, this is the reason, this is the answer.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Hmm. And
But they're
this is
not used to that.
right, right,
Mhm.
right. And this is what I have so far, right? Because sometimes you
Right,
don't have the complete answer, but you do have a piece
right.
of the puzzle. So for people who are listening and you're saying, okay, how do I apply this to myself? How do I make this
Hmm.
work for myself? I would say, we already told you, get your pen and your piece of paper.
Hmm.
If there is something or some things that you have questions about, write those questions down. If there are answers that you've been seeking, again, write the questions down, write the topic down that you want to know more about.
Hmm.
Think about the last time that you said, I don't know. What
Hmm.
was it referring to? So, for instance, if something happens to my car and you say, can you fix the car? I don't know if I can fix the car, right? I haven't ever tried to fix a car before. I don't
Hmm.
know what that is called. I don't know, right? There's some things that I honestly do not know, but I can try my best to describe what's going on. I
Right.
can try my best to explain what was going on prior to and
Hmm.
let up. So I can share with you what I do know, and
Hmm.
then the rest is currently a mystery to me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Go ahead. You were gonna say something.
No, I was really going to say like the rest is up to left to like the mechanics or the specialists or
Hmm.
the therapist to help you to dig deep and dissect it and break it down.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And that's what becomes so important so that you honestly can be in bliss. I mean, you and I have shared with you how a car I had years ago, I kept taking it to the shop, kept taking it to the shop. And I just found myself driving around and being very uncomfortable, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And as a single woman and a single Black woman, and you know how much I travel in all types of places and spaces, not knowing what was going to happen to my car and when it was going to happen was very unnerving. So again, to go back to the title of Is Ignorance Bliss? I didn't know what was going to happen. I was not blissful. There was no part.
I was not.
There was no part of me that was enjoying the experience. And I didn't want to get a car note because I had just paid the car off. So I didn't want that part either. Um, but we have to take a look at that inner turmoil that we're experiencing, be it our thoughts, be it our feelings, be it our contradictory behavior, right? So I think about people, um, when going back to the whole cheaters situation, when someone is having trust issues with their partner, what are
Hmm.
some things that they end up doing?
Going to their phone,
Mhm.
following them,
Mhm.
just invasion of privacy.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, I've always told people, just come out and say whatever it is. Like if you don't want to be with somebody, and this has even been for myself, like
Mhm.
if you don't want to be in that level of relationship with somebody,
Mhm.
just come out and say it. Like give
Right.
that person a choice to make make the decision that's best
Mhm.
for them. Give the
Mhm.
opportunity for them to go through the emotional cycle that they need to go through so that they can move in to healing.
Mhm.
How do you deal? What are your thoughts about that, and how do you deal with that with your clients?
So a lot of my clients are younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're into, oh, I went through his phone or I looked through his
Where did that come
Instagram.
from?
Well, looking through phones.
Yeah, and all of
I,
that.
I really, I really don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm removed from looking from someone's phone. That was like years ago. I learned
Mm-hmm.
very quickly. Okay, if you seek, you shall find. Right. So, and
Mm-hmm.
if is, I tell my clients, like if you are finding yourself searching your partner's phone or going through their Instagram or demanding passwords, that's the answer right there. Like you don't,
Mm-hmm.
you shouldn't want to invade your partner's privacy. And if you
Mm-hmm.
do feel as though you need that, that's a thing for you. Like that's for you
Mm-hmm.
to work through. Like why do you feel as though
Mm-hmm.
you need to go through his or her stuff?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's
Mm-hmm.
like if they are acting suspicious,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you do what you get to do. But to the man to go through someone's phone or to the man to go through their Instagram or their messages or emails, I just think that it's an invasion of privacy and it's not necessary. Like
Mhm,
if you have to do that,
mhm,
then remove yourself from the situation. Maybe go through
mhm,
you need time to heal and grow and
mhm, mhm,
solidify.
mhm,
But that's always been my stance. Even I have a couple and they have an outside therapist that recommended that they give each other access to their phones, and I'm like,
mhm,
I don't understand that. Like, what would be the point of that? Like, if I have
mhm,
to go through your phone, then I don't trust you. So that's a trust issue for me,
mhm, mhm,
and it's just not necessary from my
mhm,
standpoint.
mhm. And as far as passwords and access and so forth, I'll say for me that was something that if I'm with you, then
Mhm,
you have access to those
mhm,
things. So
mhm.
there's
And
no
that's a
reason.
choice, right?
It is.
That's your choice. It's not a
Yeah.
demand that's
Mhm.
placed on you. So
Mhm.
from my standpoint, like I said, my clients are younger, so it's like I'm not giving him my stuff, but
Mm.
he better let me see his stuff like
Mm.
that,
Mm.
like that.
Mm-mm.
Hmm.
That how it go. It's got to be a two-way street. If it's gonna
Right,
be a if it's gonna be a relationship, a healthy
right.
relationship.
Hmm.
So, yeah, no, 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 no.
Hmm.
And that also for me, like I remember people saying like, let's create like a joint account, and it was just like, I don't know. And just the sheer fact that I was like, I don't know, let me
Hmm.
know that that was a no.
Hmm.
Right? Because it was like, if you plan on growing with this person,
Right.
then you're growing with them in all ways. And if I had to pay attention to that hesitancy within
Hmm.
myself to let me know that that was not something that I felt comfortable with, which is
Hmm.
fine. I wasn't
Hmm.
trying to convince myself to feel
Right.
comfortable. It was just the self awareness that I didn't feel comfortable.
Hmm.
And that was a signal to me that either I needed to take things slower, right?
Hmm.
Or I needed to go deeper within myself to clarify, is this something that I have a challenge with overall, like it didn't matter who it was coming from, or is
Hmm.
this specific to
With
that
that
person?
person.
Hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I remember, a friend of mine, and I've shared this with you, that he wanted to get married. He always knew he wanted to get married. And
Hmm.
so when he got to be a certain age and had become at a certain level within his career, he then started to people who he was dating, he was just like, okay, is this someone who I can grow with? And
Hmm.
financially was one of his things. And so he would see whether or not they wanted to do a joint account and whether or not
Hmm.
they would see the account together. And that helped him determine whether or not this was someone who he would grow with. I had never heard that before. I thought it was
Neither have
very
I until you
interesting.
told me. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was very, very interesting. And the woman who he did end up marrying was someone who, and he's very financially responsible and so forth, was showing that she was even more responsible than him. And
Mm,
he was highly impressed by
mm,
that. So
yeah.
I think again, right, it goes back to your standards. It
Yeah.
goes back to and you being clear on what it is that you want,
Mm,
you know.
mm.
So, you know, even just entering relationship, um, just and not fully knowing what you want. What do you think about that? How effective is that going to be?
Not very effective. That's a dangerous zone right there.
It's a danger zone, danger.
Yes, because you're open to anything. If you don't
Mhm.
have a framework or a vision, or standards in place for yourself,
Mhm.
then how do you expect someone else to treat you? So in that space, I don't think that ignorance would be bliss because, especially,
Mhm.
like, I don't think at any point, but like I said, younger clients they get like a little bit of a pass because you're just coming in and you're having fun
Mhm.
and everything. But
Mhm.
my excuse me, my older clients is like, okay, like what's the goal? Like, you want to get
Mhm.
married? Okay, let's start putting these things, these checks and balances in place. So yeah,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
would not recommend, if you're seriously dating and you want to, have a
Mhm.
committed relationship that moves towards marriage to not have a framework of what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. You know, I also remember with dating, finding out very early on if someone was seeing somebody else,
Yes.
if someone was interested in being exclusive
Hmm.
at some point,
Hmm.
if someone was interested in getting married or not getting married.
Right.
And those were questions that I asked very early on as I
Hmm.
got older.
Yes.
Now, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
When I was younger, it was kind of like, you know, there were certain points that I was open. We'll see where it goes, you
Right.
know. And then as I got clearer on what I wanted,
Hmm.
and I remember one time talking to someone, and he was very clear. He's like, I have no intention of ever getting married. That's not what I
Mm.
desire. I don't want any children, and this and that. And here's my thing: I believe you. If if you tell me right, and I'm clear. I'm not.
Right.
I'm not. I don't know. You said you don't want children. You said you don't want to get married. So this is as good as it's gonna get. We
Hmm.
will go out on some dates. We may or may not travel, depending on what
Hmm.
I decide. How much, you know, how far I want to go in this relationship.
Hmm.
But that made me happy because I knew what to
The
expect.
limit. You had a
Yep,
limit. Yeah.
exactly. Thank you.
And
That's a great word.
you didn't have any emotional attachment.
To
Yeah.
wait, check this out. I didn't have any emotional attachment to a dream that I had in
Yeah.
my
The
mind,
idea. Hmm. Hmm.
right? Because I
Hmm.
think that's what happens to a lot of people. They have this idea and this dream and this wish that they have in
Fantasizing.
their mind. Yeah, 100%.
Well,
Go ahead.
romanticizing.
Both,
Romanticizing.
both. Yeah.
Both. No, with me and my dating process, I really, as I got older, was like, okay, take it one day at a time, right? Because I
Mhm.
was a fantasizer and a
Mhm.
romanticizer. And it was like,
Mhm.
oh, we can have this whole, had everything mapped out. And then the person's
Mhm.
like, skirt. No, I don't want that. I ain't doing that.
Mhm.
And so now I had to, go deeper,
Mhm.
realign, like add some things to my list, take some things off that I thought that I wanted, new things that I know that I wanted, moving
Mhm.
forward. And I just, you know, take it one day at a time and take it very slow. And it's like, okay, I don't get ahead of myself. So it's
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
it's working. It's working.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
teach it to my clients as well. It's like, okay, take it slow. Like, do
Mhm.
not jump ahead of the game. Like, listen to what he is saying. Um, listen to what your body is saying. If you constantly have a headache or your stomach is upset or you're getting cold sweats or whatever the case is, that's an indication that he may not be the one. When
That's
you're if
right.
you're physically getting sick, I
Yes.
had a client. No, it was it in the group? Can't remember. Our client recently,
Hmm.
repeated it to me, and he said, "I was physically getting sick," and I'm
Yep.
like, "Oh, here we go."
Yep.
Yes, they would get sick
Hmm.
every time they was around a particular person.
Yep.
So paying attention to that is
Yep.
very important as well.
Very loud. I know some people are like, "What?" Oh yeah. I have my stories and my bodily responses
Yes.
to people. And
But
I was
isn't it so interesting how like we say these words, like we say like, "Oh my gosh, you make me so sick," but people
yep,
can really make you sick, and
you
people
sick.
don't even put the
Yes.
two together.
No, not at all.
Hmm.
Not right. You get on
Hmm.
my last nerve and then you wonder why your back hurts.
Listen,
Right. You wonder
that's
you wonder
probably why my back hurt because I said, let me change my words. Maybe my back will stop hurting.
Uh-huh. And you go in there and any clients that I have, we will go into our bodies, right? We
Yeah.
meditate, we go into the body, we find out what is housed in that point of pain.
Hmm.
Because our bodies, there's a book called like Our Bodies Know the Score, or Our
Yeah,
Bodies
keep
Remember the Score.
score. Our
Keep
bodies
score, our
keep
bodies
score.
keep score.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Right. So our bodies have stories to tell us. We tuck, right? We stuff things down, we tuck stuff away, and there's a pain in there, there's a memory in there, and we have to be able to call it out, right? And
Hmm.
acknowledge it, and so therefore it can remove itself.
Yeah.
Um, I learned that firsthand years ago when my husband was tickling my feet. This is before he was my husband, we were dating. And he was tickling my feet, and then he started doing this little piggy, one little piggy to all of this type of stuff. And he got to one of my piggies and he plucked it. He plucked it just as regular,
Mm,
and I screamed like he had broken my toe
mm,
and proceeded to wail. The tears just came. And he was
mm.
like, "Oh my God, what happened? What's wrong?" I couldn't even talk for the longest time because I was just crying
Wow.
so hard. And the only thing that rose up was when I was 8 years old in the backyard playing baseball. We weren't supposed to use the real baseball. We were supposed to use the tennis
Mm,
ball like we always did, but we had snuck the real baseball outside, and it was us and all the neighborhood kids. It was a pop fly. I'm screaming, "I got it, I got it, I got it." And the sun hit me in the eye, and the ball went past my mitt and hit me right here on my
mm,
nose. To which point I went to scream. Now I had probably the loudest mouth on in the neighborhood.
mm.
I went to scream and they all came running around me in a circle, and everybody said, "Don't cry, Kathy, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, Kathy, don't cry. If you cry,
Mm.
we all gonna get our butt beat. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry." And I was like,
Mm,
and I just pushed it and I pushed it
mm,
and I pushed it down and then kept on playing. Now,
mm.
later on, when I went on some modeling interview or something, one time one of the people asked me, they're like, "Did you ever break your nose? It seems like there's," right? And I was like this. And my mother was like, "Oh no, she's never had a broken nose." And I'm like, "I wonder if it did break that day." I don't,
Mm.
right? I never said anything. And so that day when he was plucking my toe, that's the memory that rose up.
Wow.
And yep. And so it had been sitting in there for about 40 years.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. And then it was released. Ain't had no problems with that toe since. But it was so now, so you figure, right? That was a moment. Any traumas that people have had.
Mhm.
Whenever I talk with clients, I ask them where do they feel it in their body. So for those of you who are listening, if you're like, I do notice that whenever I talk about such and such, I might get short of breath, or I might feel
Mhm.
a pain in my chest, or I might notice that my shoulders and my neck get tense, or I might
Mhm.
feel a pain in the center of my back, or I might notice that my leg starts to look. Just take a moment and tap in to that part of your body and ask it, what does it want to tell you?
Mhm.
Because our bodies have a language. We're so busy reading other people's body language that we forget to pay attention and learn
Our
our
own.
own body language.
Mhm.
Go ahead. What's going through your mind?
No, I just wanted to add to that when you ask your body like what is going on, your
Hmm.
first thought is typically what it is, right? So
Hmm.
you don't have to do much digging or, unless nothing comes up and then you have to go, tap in a
Hmm.
little bit more. But typically your first
Hmm.
thought, like with you 40 years later, thinking about when
Hmm.
you were 8,
Hmm.
that's your first thought. That's probably what
Hmm.
it is.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. JJ Hanna said, pay attention. That's right. That's right. Gotta pay
Yeah.
attention. And that's it, right? So again, our bodies tell us. The other thing is, even if it's your first thought and it doesn't necessarily make sense to you, make sure you write that down as well,
Mhm.
because your body can be telling you something. So for instance, and I'll mess with you, Dina, you might like say pizza, and you'd be like, what in the world, why would my body say pizza while I'm coughing? Well, it
Mhm.
may turn out, right, that it's the cheese, it's the dairy, it's the this.
Mhm.
One of my people, they, if they have too much dairy, it's like they break out on their
Mhm.
forehead, and they
Mhm.
couldn't figure out why they were breaking out. And we did that. We were like, stop. What is it? And they were like, milk keeps coming up. And then they
Mhm.
did their research, and it turned out that every time they had dairy products, that's what would happen. They would break
Oh
out up
wow.
here. So
Mhm.
your body will tell you the same way with like people with allergies regarding
Yeah.
like pineapple and
Mhm.
celery and different things, nuts, different things like that. We have to pay attention,
Mhm.
which is another reason why I say ignorance is not bliss, because when
Whole reaction.
whole reactions to things. And if your goal, and again, this becomes your goal, my goal is to live my greatest life. My hope for everyone is for them to live their greatest life. And that really means to be healthy in all spaces and places. So, yeah. Thoughts? What else?
That's all I
That's all you got. I know you tired.
got.
All right. So the culmination is ignorance bliss. I think if you're a little person,
Mhm.
it
You
you
get a
if
pass.
you get a pass. You get a
Mhm.
pass. You get about a 14-year pass.
Yes.
That's it. Right.
Boom. That's it. Mhm.
And then as you start to cross over, and especially as I mentioned, when you start to move into wanting to be in, I would say, romantic relationships.
Mhm.
I was just thinking about the little girl who decided she wanted to have a boyfriend. Remember, Boot Up?
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
And so it was like, these are the realities. Like, if you're saying you want to go down this road, you understand that you are opening the door
Mhm.
to certain conversations,
Mhm.
possible life
Activities.
experiences, certain
Mhm.
activities. And I remember one time working with a sixth grader who had a crush on someone, and he had a crush on her. So they decided that they were going to start dating.
Mhm.
And so she went home and asked her parents, was it okay? And her parents said, yeah, I was shocked. But her
Mhm.
parents said, yes, it was okay. And I was like, okay. And thank goodness she was coming to me, to navigate this space. And so we talked about being able to manage her emotions,
Mhm.
as well as being aware of his emotions, and how that was impacting, how his emotions were impacting her emotions,
Mhm.
and then being able to still manage her schoolwork as
Mhm.
well as her extracurricular activities and so forth. And so they ended up going to the movies.
Mhm.
And so she comes and she goes, I just thought we were going to hold hands. He wanted to do some other things that I was not ready to do. And all I kept thinking was, I'm dealing with a whole lot of emotions here, and I don't know if I can get through all of these emotions and
Right.
pay attention to his too. She was like, Miss Kathleen, I decided I'm not ready for this. I'm gonna wait until I get older. I said, okay, if that's what you want to do. Meanwhile, I'm like this. Whew,
Yes.
but
Yes.
the importance of having these conversations, a lot of times parents think that their children are too young to
Hmm.
have these conversations. But I would say, I mean, you've been in schools and you've been around kids. I know I've seen it as early as kindergarten,
Yes.
honestly, right?
I think third grade though.
Third grade, definitely. That's when
Hmm.
crushes really kick in.
Hmm. Hmm.
Definitely.
Third grade, and then they start to act on them seriously around like fifth or sixth grade,
Hmm.
and then eighth grade is just on and
Yes.
popping.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And then a lot of times parents they'll say like, no, 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 and then later on in life they'll be like, oh yeah, I was dating so and so
Yes.
in such and such a grade, and it's like what? Like I tell parents, I said I done busted up many a wedding behind a dumpster. So look,
Not the way. Yes. I'm interested to hear my stories years to come, like,
oh my
for my
goodness,
children.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'll let you know. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I think it is important that when you can take the time to get information again so that you can make the best choices
Hmm.
for
Yeah,
yourself.
for sure. Hmm.
All right. Any closing comments? We're going to wrap up a little bit early today. This is like a real session. We almost have 45 minutes.
Yes. No, I just think, it's very important to be aware of yourself, your partner, any relationships that you're in, to tap
Mhm.
in, like you said, to your body. If you're feeling like, trying to seek more information, then that's the indication to seek,
Mhm.
more information, for more
Mhm.
information internally, externally, ask
Mhm.
questions. I always tell my clients, like, if you're feeling suspicious, ask the question and then
Yeah.
go off of how their energy feels with their response and how you feel with their response. So
Yeah.
it's very important just to be self-aware and just aware
Mhm.
in general.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
then that takes away the ignorance part. I mean, you can
Yeah.
still have a blissful life, but
Yeah.
you're more aware.
That's right.
So,
You can
yeah,
be informed and blissful.
you're right. Yeah, I love
Definitely.
it.
Definitely. All right. So let's be informed about your books and any events that you have coming up.
So I have two books. I'm about to say the Blueprint for Self Love. Let's wrap this. I have the 30-day self love challenge. It's a workbook. It takes you through 30 days of self love activities
Mm-hmm.
and 30 days of two journal prompts per day. So it helps you to start your self love journey. I recommend, if you do purchase it, to write your answers in a separate book, because you could use this book as many times as you need to
Mm-hmm.
throughout your self love journey.
Mm-hmm.
60, 90 days from now, you can get a different answer from today. So
Yep.
it's a timeless book, as I
Yes.
like to say.
Yes. I've no. I
Yes,
think the term is called evergreen.
evergreen. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So,
Mm-hmm.
I also have How to Heal from a Heartbreak, which is an ebook. It's a journal as well. And it just takes you through 5 key steps of how to heal from a heartbreak. It's a quick read, but very efficient read as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we have? Self
You
Love
got.
Social. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
we have our third Self Love Social this Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
at a disclosed location.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Was and I, we will have our live podcast, our first live podcast.
Yes. With
And so it's
audience.
going to be, yes, it's going to be a very intimate space. If you guys are interested, the links are in my bio on Instagram and TikTok. My
Mm-hmm.
Instagram handle, and well, both of them, same
Mm-hmm.
handle, Deana Davis _ LSW. Is the first link in my bio. Should I
Mm-hmm.
talk about January self? Okay.
Of course.
January Self Love Social is the Abundant Dinner, which is an intimate private dinner for about like 16, 14 to 16 women, but it's a formal dinner where we get dressed up at an upscale, nice restaurant. The title of the dinner, well, the name of the dinner is the Abundant Dinner to set the tone for the year, for an abundant
Mhm.
year. So we just come together, fellowship, eat really good food, and we prepare for an abundant year. So, yes.
Mhm.
And that's in January. So more details will come about that.
Yes, and I love the fact that you're letting people know now so that they can
Yes.
prepare. All
Hmm.
right. So the self love social on Sunday, which is the greatest blueprint in person podcast,
Hmm.
that is, there's an Eventbrite link where you do need to sign up. You do need to purchase your ticket. There
Hmm.
will be light fare. There will be questions and answers.
Hmm.
So it's a great intimate time. There's only a few tickets left, so we
Hmm.
encourage you definitely to sign up. If you are someone who wants to sponsor a woman, because we have about 7 women who unfortunately can't afford it, so,
Hmm.
but they would love, if you're interested in sponsoring a ticket, that you can do that as well.
Yeah.
Is there space on the Eventbrite page? Like if someone says they purchased a ticket, but they want to donate it for a sponsor, do you know?
No, I did not set it up that way, but you can DM me
Okay.
on both handles, social media. I mean, Instagram and TikTok, and then we
Yeah.
can, handle it that way if you would like
Okay.
to sponsor a ticket.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So there's that. And then like as far as the abundant dinner, so people can start looking for their outfits because as
Hmm.
you mentioned, this is an upscale dinner. So you can prepare for that as well. Any idea, do you know what the cost of that's going to be yet or a range?
I'm thinking it's going to be $125 to $150
Yeah.
per person, and that's going to
Mm-hmm.
include 3 to 4 course meal,
Mm-hmm.
drinks, gratuities, taxes,
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So that's
Mm-hmm.
that's what I'm trying to aim for it to be.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, but we will keep you posted. We'll continue to mention it here on the Greatest Blueprint as well as our social media as well. And you said your social media handle is what?
Deana Davis underscore LSW on both Instagram and
And
TikTok.
TikTok. Okay. And what about on YouTube?
It's the same. Everything
Same.
is the
Everything's
same
the
across
same.
the board.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And if you did not get a chance to see her interview yesterday, as she talked about her books on my Planters Knowledge podcast, as I'm realizing that I forgot to change my logo up top. Oh, well, sorry, y'all.
Right.
JJ Anna said, how much is the Self Love event sponsor ticket?
So it will be the sorry.
50, right?
$50. $50,
Yes.
yes. I was trying to say the cost of the ticket,
Yes.
but yes, it's been a long day, guys. Sorry.
It's 50. So, all right. And so, all right. So, sorry about that with the logo. Completely forgot. But you can check out the Planner's Knowledge podcast
Mhm.
and learn more about her book as well. She gave a thumbs up. All right. So, and then as far as myself, I have The Greatest Soul Journey and Live by the Spirit. Both of these are journal style workbooks, self help, where I give you food for thought and then ask you some questions. Now, the greatest, I know some of you have seen, the greatest stands for God restores excellence, activates talents, encourages spiritual transformation. I'll say it again. God restores excellence, activates talents, encourages spiritual transformation. And I give you food for thought about each letter and then ask you a series of questions for you to answer, similar to the 30-day self love challenge. This is a book that it is about you, it is for you, and it changes as you change. There are no right or wrong answers. It is 100% about your greatest soul journey and the map to lead you to your greatest life. All right. Live by the Spirit. These are like inspired thoughts that I've had where all of a sudden something makes sense. A life event happens, and it's like, let me get that down. And then I got it down and I wrote about it. And then I created space in
Mhm.
here to see if it triggered something in you. Because how many times do you talk to somebody and it's like, oh, that's what happened to me
Mhm.
when? And
Mhm.
so, again,
All the
right, for
time.
you to have that reflective moment. And then, because I am the self proclaimed number one adult children's book author in the multiverse, throughout the multiverse, I have my Adventures of Froggy T and Bunny Hip Hop Tales series. And we
Mm-hmm.
call them adult children's books because whenever adults read them, they say, "Did you write this for me or did you write this for my children?" And the reality is, we all have that inner child inside of
Yeah.
us, right? And so these have life lessons, these have life skills, coping skills, strategies, all of that is built in to these books. They increase vocabulary as well
Mm-hmm.
as feelings vocabulary. So there's the reunion, which is the first book, which was about faith and friendship and following that inner voice inside of you. Then there is feeling feelings, which is about Froggy T wakes up in a bad mood. Bunny's concerned. She asks him. Then he says something smart and sassy to her. So now she's worried about him, but she also mad at him. So now she has all of these different feelings going on, and she's trying to figure out how to navigate them. So there you can see she's taking some reflective steps there. She also talks with a wise elder to give her some strategies so she can learn how to manage all of her feelings. Because the reality is, we rarely feel just one feeling. We
Mm-hmm.
usually feel a variety of feelings, and we have to learn how to identify that. Then we have Bunny Gets Bullied. This talks about her first experience being bullied by the Bully brothers, where there is Bully Tim, Bully Ray, and baby Bully Jerome, who actually told Bunny she better run on home. And so, and they're hip hop tales. And I have to thank JJ Hannah for that because she gave me that hip hop tale hook.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're a hip hop tale, one, because they're a frog and a bunny and they both hop and they hip characters. And
Mm-hmm.
two, because they're lyrical in nature. And so part of the fun of the book is finding the rhyming
Mm-hmm.
within the book, which helps to increase fluency and literacy. And so when Bunny gets bullied, we get a chance to see how this bullying experience impacts her mentally, physically, and emotionally. We also get a chance to see how she seeks out advice from a parent as well as from a friend. Now, the latest one that just came out in the beginning of October is Mungu and Froggy Foo. And I love all of my books, but I do have to say, I think this right now is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because it is a response story. So Froggy Foo and Mungu is about Froggy T's response when he got that call about his friend being bullied.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all had an experience where something has happened to a friend and it triggers us, right? And that's what this story is about. So you'll find out who Froggy Foo is, and Froggy Foo's relationship to Froggy T, and all of the things that he goes through in his response, his trip down memory lane after being triggered by Bunny getting bullied. These are great books for yourself. It doesn't matter for any age. Deana, you can speak to it. You know, you done been through all of them.
No, it really is. They're really adult children's books. It speaks to all ages and great Christmas gifts, birthday gifts,
Mhm.
like it's just they're great books.
Yes, yes,
Well written, the
thank
glossaries in the
you.
back. My
Yes,
children love them.
yes.
Um, yeah.
Thank you for reminding. Yes, there's glossary. There's a glossary in the back of every book. There's also activity
Yeah.
questions in the back to increase self-reflection, also create conversations.
Mhm.
As my little god granddaughter told me, what? There's a glossary in the back. That's top tier. I said, oh, thank you.
Oh, her mother is. Oh.
So yes, definitely check out Froggy Foo and Mungu and the whole adventures. And they're available on Amazon. They're also available in the TikTok shop. And so there's a coupon in the TikTok shop. There's Black Friday sales coming up. You can also message me. You can go to my website, askdrwalls.com, ASKDRWALLS, .com. If you would like an autograph copy, we can arrange that to happen as well. And the other thing is the books are available in print, in ebook, as well as digital audio book with illustrations on Vimeo, excuse me. So you get a chance to hear, I do the narration, and then you get to hear Froggy T's voice. You get a chance to hear Bunny's voice. So I have great voiceover artists that do the characters. And what's nice about having those is, one, if you get tired of reading to your child, all you got to do is put me on play and I'll keep reading to them over and over again.
Yes.
But it also teaches them timing, pacing, pronunciation, inflection, all of that. So it's a great complement to the books as well. So be sure to check that out. Again, you can go to askdrwalls.com. You'll see all the different links there. If you haven't joined our YouTube pages, please be sure to subscribe and follow. I have a lot of other shows coming up this week. My next show will be on Friday. That will be the Planner's Knowledge podcast with S.K. Kaba, who is an author. And she is going to be talking about her book called Jerry's Heart, which is a love story. And her writing and her genre tend to be romance towards the LGBTQ plus population. So I'm excited to hear about her and about her writing journey. So be sure to join us this Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for that. Again, subscribe, hit the bell, hit the notification, because I'm good to do some pop-ups. So y'all be sure to follow. Okay. All right. You get to go to bed now. And we will see y'all very soon. As always, God bless. Continue to live your greatest life and make sure that you tap into your greatest
blueprint.
All right. See you later. Bye, everyone. Thanks for
Bye.
joining us.